Hey everybody, this is Movie Discussion, and welcome to Episode 2. I'm your host, Mustache Man. I have a YouTube channel where I review movies and stuff like that. So, go check it out, link below in the description. And if you would like to be part of these episodes, go to my profile on Reddit, Mustache Man YT, not a subreddit, just the profile. And I post every 2 weeks, I post a poll asking you guys for films to recommend and a film recommendation. So yeah, that's how I really decide what I watch. And also, if you want to give me more recommendations, sorry, I don't know what I'm trying to say, more recommendations and stuff like that, and ask me questions for the episode, definitely go check out the subreddit Movie Discussion. The reason that I don't post the polls and stuff there, it's not as big yet, so after we get a couple members over there, we will do it on that. So yeah, go join that if you want to support me. And here we go. The format of these podcast episodes that I like to do is, first we have my Blu-ray haul, which there isn't always going to be that, but today there is, and a lot of other times. Then we have the first movie discussion, which is going to be a new film relatively, just this year. And also for our second film discussion, we're going to do the same thing with the 2021 release, and no spoilers on those, and then we'll go into the film recommendation, which has spoilers, and yeah, then we'll end off the episode. So, let's get straight away into the Blu-ray haul, aka DVD Blu-ray haul today. So, first up, we have the 5 film collection music movies. So, I don't usually buy DVDs because I like to, future-proof my stuff and have stuff in pristine HD on Blu-ray, but for this one, I really couldn't pass it up. We have a movie called Joyful Noise, which I don't even know what that is, but it has Dolly Parton in it. And then you have Hairspray and Rock of Ages, both directed by Matt Shankman. Hairspray off of the original one, which I haven't seen, but it's a cult classic to some people. But the main reason I bought it was the other 2 films in this set, which is Clint Eastwood's Jersey Boys. I need to watch more Clint Eastwood movies before Cry Macho comes out later this year. So I was like, hey, let's buy it. And then what I really bought it for was to maybe do it on a episode of this podcast one day for a recommendation, Little Shop of Horrors starring Rick Moranis. I've never seen it, but people recommend it to me all the time, so I figured, hey, next week's poll, I'll put it in. Then we have the Lego Movie, directed by Lord and Miller. And I really like Lord and Miller. They make great movies. And I haven't seen 21 or 22 Jump Street, but everything animated that I've seen from them is great. And this is no exception. I don't like it as much as a lot of other people. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10. But I will be rewatching it in a few weeks for this podcast because it won the film recommendation. So I will be checking this out within the next couple of weeks. I'm excited for it, but I don't think that I'm going to love this the way that a lot of people do. I think it'll probably be a 7 or an 8 out of 10 for me, just not quite as high as some other people that I agree with on most things. Then we have Mean Streets, directed by Martin Scorsese. Needed to watch more Scorsese, so I decided, hey, let's buy Mean Streets, because this is one of those that isn't talked about a lot when you look at Scorsese's, wide variety of films, but it does have a lot of good reviews and a lot of people love it. So I decided, hey, let's get this and I'll watch it one day and, give my thoughts on it. Might do it for a podcast episode if it wins. Next up, we have A Quiet Place. I've already seen this. I did it with a double feature with the film we're going to talk about here in a little bit. It's second part, A Quiet Place Part 2. And, this in the second one, or actually I'm not going to spoil what I think about the second one, but this is a good film. It's a 6 out of 10. It's not great, but it does have things about it that I really do enjoy. I thought that the direction in it was really good from John Krasinski. And if you don't know who John Krasinski is, oh my god. If you don't know who he is Jim on The Office, I think. I don't watch The Office, but I'm pretty sure that's his name on it. And he directed this. A lot of people say this is not a good horror movie, and I would agree. This is not a good horror movie at all. And I know that it advertises itself that way. But in my opinion, this is a thriller, and if you watch it as a thriller, it's pretty good. Next up, we have Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I don't love Star Wars. I don't love what Disney's done with Star Wars. I think a lot of it is pretentious and boring. I thought where Rian Johnson went with this, and then J.J. Abrams and The Rise of Skywalker was fine. But didn't think this trilogy was great. I do really love this one, and the last time I watched it, I think it was my second favorite Star Wars movie. And so I decided to buy it. But, you know, I don't think I'm going to feel that way in a second watch, but I do think that I will still really enjoy it. So, yeah, bought that for that reason. Next up, we have the Liam Neeson Taken trilogy. I decided, hey, you know what? I haven't seen any Liam Neeson action thrillers, and so I need to start. So what better way than to buy the three that kind of started him out, the first one, really. But I don't think I'm going to love this trilogy. I think I'll like the first one, and then the second one will be decent, and then the third one I won't like. But I do still think that I need to get into Liam Neeson action movies. So I was like, hey, let's buy the trilogy while I'm here, and while they're not sold out. So, yeah. Lastly, we have Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. I'm going to watch T2 Judgment Day this week. So I was like, hey, I'm already on a Terminator binge. Let's, go through all of them. And so I bought this one for that reason only. I don't know if I'll like it or not, but I decided, hey, let's get it on HD because, there are some pretty good visuals in these from what I saw in the first movie. So, yeah. So that concludes our DVD or / Blu-ray haul. But A Quiet Place, a good, what am I trying to say? I don't even know. But a good way to merge into what we're going to talk about next, which is A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, I know this came out a month ago, but I'm still going to talk about it because I only saw it recently with a double feature with that one. No spoilers, so, you're good if you haven't seen it. This one, I don't know if I like it more or less than, the first one. I think they're both kind of tied for me, but if I had to choose a favorite, I would probably pick the second one. I really liked what they did, and, what picks up, and this isn't much of a spoiler, but slightly, I guess, spoilers. This picks up right after the first movie. So, I think that it picks up well. I think that, it really sucks what these people went through in a couple of days. But, there's still some dumb stuff in this movie. There's dumb stuff in the other movie. So, I think that, when Cillian Murphy is added into the mix, I like it a bit more because he's a great actor with, great performances in almost everything he's in. But this, it didn't really pick up as well as the other one. I thought that they didn't do a great job at explaining all the characters. I did like, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, you get, the time before all of this life a little bit. And I really did like that part of it. But, some setups were just so, boring. There were scenes that just felt like they just paced them together and there was nothing in between explaining how these two parties got to this place. But I did still enjoy it enough. And maybe on a rewatch I will think that this is a bad movie, but right now where I'm at with it, I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's great, but it is not, it's not, it's entertaining, but it has decent filmmaking and decent writing and stuff like that. It's just not one that I feel like I would gain anything out of a second watch. So next up, Our second movie discussion, we have the new Steven Soderbergh movie, No Set a Move. I'm not going to stay on this forever. No spoilers. Again, if you haven't seen it, you're fine. But this is kind of a throwback to 80s and 90s crime thrillers. And it stars Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro, which I don't really like either of those actors. I don't know how they are in as people, because if I was judging a film on how people are in Hollywood, I wouldn't like any film. But I thought that their performances, especially Don Cheadle, he did a good job. But both of the performances in this film, of the leads, they're serviceable, but they're nothing memorable. And I feel like you can say that about pretty much every performance in this film. It's serviceable, but it's not memorable, and no one's going to remember this. And this is kind of a generic, kind of crime thriller. And even with a modern twist, it is not, as good as some of the older ones. But I still did think that they did it in a really cool way. They used a different camera lens, or maybe a different camera or something, that was really reminiscent of the way that they shot them back then. But I think it's a fisheye lens that they used for this, and to kind of emulate that. Don't check me on that, but I think that was what they used, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the concept that they used for the crime thriller aspect was really cool. And I thought that, the direction was pretty good. I thought that the cinematography, nice shot composition, good editing. It just, it's not that anything was necessarily bad in it. It's just that, it's trying to throw back to those 80s and 90s crime thrillers, and it does that, but it doesn't do anything beyond that to push why it needed to be made, and I think that's really my main fault with it. So, it's still a good movie, and I would definitely give it a 6 out of 10. I don't remember if I rated A Quiet Place Part 2, but it is also a 6 out of 10. Next up, we have the film recommendation. You guys voted for Django Unchained by Quentin Tarantino, written and directed. Starring Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz, and Leo DiCaprio. Also, it has Sam Jackson in it, and some other people that I'm forgetting. It has the villain, not Ghost, but it has Sonny Burch from Ant-Man and the Wasp in it as a cowboy. Sorry. Oh my god. Sorry. But it has all those guys in it. And that's really, I thought, at least, that Christoph Waltz and Leo DiCaprio were the only people that were actually trying in this film. I know that's a controversial statement because of Sam Jackson's role in the film. But I think he was, he was good. He just wasn't, as great as them. They outshined every scene that they were in. And I don't even think that Jamie Foxx was good. Spoilers, by the way. I don't think Jamie Foxx was great. I thought he was fine. You pair Christoph Waltz, a very great actor that, in Inglourious Basterds was also amazing. And you pair him up with someone that isn't really that competent as an actor. I like Jamie Foxx in some stuff, but in most of the films that I've seen him in, he's one character. He is, this kind of brute that doesn't say much, that just, has quips and doesn't really, do a lot in the film, and he's just kind of there and silent and supposed to be badass. Now, don't get me wrong, he's very badass in this movie. But I don't like the way that he acts in movies, because he's playing pretty much the same character, and I know that's why people get mad at people like Adam Sandler or Jim Carrey. They're basically playing the same character in every movie, comedy that they've been in. But, it's not that I am hating on all those people because they play the same character. It's just that it gets a little bored after a minute. And, he doesn't really none of them really switch it up in any sort of way. Jim Carrey's always going to be Jim Carrey with that energy. Adam Sandler's always going to be, dumb, fun humor. And Jamie Foxx is always going to be, silent brute that tells, smart-ass lines, and that's it. But I did still enjoy this film a lot. I thought the writing and directing from Quentin Tarantino was really good. I thought that the cinematography was good for the most part. I thought there were some dumb scenes. I thought that the bag scene that goes on for way too long was really bad, where they're complaining, "Oh, I can't see, I can't see, I can't see." But this is probably the most badass film I've ever seen, other than those criticisms. It has some really good action. This is Tarantino's best use of blood that I've seen, which is a weird thing to say. But it has a good use of blood. And I thought that some of the stuff in this, like with slavery and the way that it was back then, was really powerful, and how it told it. And I don't think that, it's really trying to say that that's good, obviously. But I do think that it was, just kind of showing how these people thought that they were so much, so powerful over these people in that time. And it's so disgusting. There were scenes that I literally could not stand, like the hot box scene. I almost couldn't watch it because it was really brutal. But, it's a good film. I thought that everything about it was pretty good, except for Jamie Foxx's performance. Like I said, it wasn't bad, it just wasn't great. And I thought that, other than the dumb bag scene and stuff like that, it was pretty fun. I thought it was, like I said, badass. I think it runs a little bit too long. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes long almost, which I think is a bit pretentious, but, it's still not bad. It's justified in its runtime. I thought the pacing was thrown around a little bit, just a smidge, in some scenes, but other than that, pretty, great film. I really enjoyed a lot of this. The music was another good aspect to it. Although I didn't love every song, I did like them. And, it's a good film. I think it's a bit overrated, but it is still pretty good, and I would give it a 7 out of 10. And so guys, that is really it for this episode. I had a great time recording. Also, sorry for I'm recording this a week early because I'll be away on some personal stuff for the next 2-3 weeks, so I had to record this early. But next week's recommendation has already been picked, or next episode's recommendation has already been picked. It is Her by Spike Jonze, so get ready for that. And then the next podcast episode has already been picked as well, which is going to be the Lego Movie. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later, guys. Peace.